From sea to sea, from planet to planet, and star to shining star, from out of the night and into the light, from the pyramids of Giza to the pyramids on Mars, from the dark side of the street to the dark side of the moon, from political intrigues to hometown shenanigans, from the light year across black hole at the center of the galaxy to the God module at the center of your brain. Welcome. This is Strange Universe, the program bringing you 16.4 billion years of evolution, the program that you listen to us for 2 hours, and it is the equivalent of a college education, at least at a public university. And with your host, the man so nice they named him thrice, the Scott Fargus of Internet Radio, America's sweetheart. Don't hate me because I'm beautiful. The radio show hated and reviled by Sarah Palin, the Kardashians, Paris Hilton, but Snooki thinks we're kind of hot. The man who both sides of his pillow are cool. It is I, Sean David Morton. Now, I have a guest on for the first half hour, so we're just going to get right to it here. I mean, maybe I can, with my savoir-faire and debonair and dashing devil-may-care, I may convince her to stay on a little bit longer. But my guest this evening is somebody that I am so excited about talking to. You have heard me speak of her on this program many, many times. She is the crusading lawyer, a lovely lady, a Russian immigrant, a lady from Russia who immigrated to the United States of America some time ago, and is also going to be running for Senate, I believe, also in California. And I have read you the transcripts recently of the People versus Barack Obama, and I have kept you up to date on all of the various legal wranglings that have been going on where, again, I've pointed this out that, in my opinion, Barack Obama is not a citizen of this country as many ways as you cannot be a citizen of this country, and yet he continues to finagle his way somehow, some way. This guy continues to, one, not only be president of the United States, but two, hide his true origins, hide his true birth, hide his social security number, hide his birth certificate. And so the person on who knows more about this than anybody, the person who has fought for the Constitution and fought for justice for all of us, I am very proud to have as my guest. I'm hoping she's there, the lovely Orly Taitz. Are you there, Orly?
Yes, I am. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much for being on my program. I am honored and overjoyed to have you on. So there is so much internet rumor and speculation right now, because as I understand it, there were things on the internet where, on the one hand, again, we're going to put all that to rest. We're hoping to also take this program and put it up on YouTube, on our YouTube channel as well. So give me the rundown. Give me a bit of the buildup of what's happening in the People versus Barack Obama in Georgia, and then tell me if there were developments this weekend, please.
Well, I represent 5 plaintiffs in Georgia. One is a voter, and 4 presidential candidates. 2 of them are Democrats, 1 Republican, 1 independent. And I have filed a challenge to Barack Obama. Now, there were 2 other challenges who were filed by other attorneys, by Van Irian and Mark Hatfield. Those challenges were more limited because they were questioning only one issue. They're saying, we stipulate that he was born here, that all of his papers are fine, and the only thing that we're questioning is, with all the papers, presuming them to be correct, if he can be considered naturally born in light of the fact that his father was a foreigner. My case is different in that not only I'm questioning the same theoretical question, whether one with foreign allegiance from birth can be considered a natural-born U.S. citizen, but I'm also bringing just earth-shattering evidence. I flew from all over the country, seven witnesses. Some of them were experts in different areas who provided evidence and sworn testimony that the Social Security number that Obama is using is a Connecticut Social Security number, which was issued in 1977 to a resident of the state of Connecticut who was born in 1890. At a time, Obama resided in Hawaii, had no connection to Connecticut, bottom line, this man is using a stolen Social Security number. On top of that, the alleged copy of his long-form birth certificate that he posted online on whitehouse.gov with, a lot of showmanship. It's nothing but a computer-generated forgery.
Well, this is the birth certificate that he shoved in Donald Trump's face at the White House press correspondence dinner, and of course his Social Security card. He looks remarkably good for a 122-year-old white man from Connecticut, don't you think?
No, he should be making a lot of money since it looks like he found fountain of youth.
Yeah, he's drinking something that's keeping him young looking. So, so go ahead.
Smoking, who knows?
Yeah, it must be smoking. That's it. It's all that smoking and drinking that he's doing. That's what's keeping him young. By goodness.
But after I. Not only I provided all this evidence, but I actually issued a subpoena for him to appear in court and provide his the certified copies of all of his vital records, his long-form birth certificate, redacted application for his Social Security card, and so forth. When I issued that subpoena, his attorney filed a motion to quash the subpoena.
Mr. Jablonski, correct?
Yes. The judge ruled in my favor, saying the subpoena was valid and he has to appear in court. And at that time, Obama was cornered because, as we know, he has nothing to show. He, in a last-ditch effort, he sent a letter to the Secretary of State of Georgia, Brian Kemp, saying basically that Attorney Orly Taitz is this big bad wolf, and he wants the Secretary of State of Georgia to act like his mommy and, protect him from a big bad wolf, Attorney Orly Taitz.
Yeah, the big bad wolf. And again, wasn't, as I understand it, Jablonski was threatening the governor of Georgia and the Secretary of State, saying that we demand that this be dismissed because the president's busy and this is frivolous. And both the governor and the Secretary of State stood up to Jablonski and said, that's the judicial branch of government. There's nothing I can do.
Well, he did. The only correction that I need to make, he did not write to the governor. He wrote to the judge and he wrote to the Secretary of State. Now, this was Jablonski or this was actually Barack Obama? Jablonski on behalf of Obama.
Okay, all right, yes.
And Secretary of State said he has to appear. He did not appear. His attorney did not appear. I provided over 200 pages of evidence and also testimony. And the decision came just recently, a couple days ago, which was just inconceivable. In spite of the fact that in the state of Georgia, the burden of proof is on the candidate, in this case the defendant, to show that he is eligible, and the defendant did not show up, did not provide any evidence, the judge ruled...
Wait, before you get to this, hold on one second. Let me give you a little bit more build-up here, because I read last Thursday, somebody sent to me basically everything that occurred in that courtroom. As I understand it, there was no national media covering this whatsoever, was there?
Well, there was actually right after the hearing. There were 6 major networks there. They asked me to do a press conference. I did a press conference, and actually, if you go on my website, orlytaitz.esq.com, ORLY, T as in Tom, AI, T as in Tom, Z, ESQ.com. You will see all of the interviews. It's all online. And as I understand it, I'm skimming around everything because we're gonna build this up a little bit here. But you presented evidence of private investigators, and just correct me if I'm wrong here, but you presented evidence of private investigators that his Social Security number was in fact fraudulent. You presented expert testimony that both of his birth certificates were in fact fraudulent. I had one interesting, here was an odd thing. There was also testimony that was presented that he was a dual citizen of not only the United States but Indonesia, and the judge dismissed that for some reason. Any idea as to why the judge turned around and said, well, that part's irrelevant, the fact that he was traveling around on an Indonesian passport? Well, let me tell you what I found out recently about this judge. I was questioning, actually from the very beginning, And I didn't want to sound like a racist, so I was kind of quiet about it, but I did send emails to my client and to a number of people saying I'm a little bit concerned about this judge. I looked at his background. He's Iranian Muslim.
Okay.
And what's interesting, when you look at the website of the Administrative Court of the state of Georgia, there are about 50 judges there, and on each judge you can see a bio, information, where they were born, where they studied, where they worked. When you go to this judge, it's blank page. Absolutely nothing is there. Nobody can find any law firms which he used to work for. He studied law at Boston University. That's all we know. We know that he's from Iran. We know his family is in Boston and New York. It's a Muslim family. But no evidence of him working for any law firms as an attorney. And then suddenly he becomes a deputy chief judge of the Administrative Court of the state of Georgia. And we also found out that there were a number of decisions made by this judge that were ignored by the Secretary of State. Keep in mind, his decision is only advisory. He advises, and Secretary of State may or may not follow his advice. And on a number of occasions, several secretaries of state, he's been there for quite some time, actually ignored this judge and came up with decisions that were just opposite of what he recommended. So when he came up with this insane decision, it was absolutely insane. It's just inconceivable. How can he come up with this decision? The burden of proof is on the defendant. It's on the candidate. The candidate did not provide anything. And what he said, that all of the evidence, all of the witnesses were not persuasive to him. And he believed that over 200 pages of evidence that I provided had little probative value. Even if you were to believe what he is saying, considering the fact that the defendant provided absolutely nothing, it's still more than nothing. It's still more than nothing.
He rules there was little probative value to the evidence, number one. Number two, as I understood it, Jablonski basically said, if you're not going to overrule this case and dismiss it right now, I am taking my bat and ball and I am going home. And I was under the impression, at least from what I read online, that, of course, which is always true, that he basically said, look, I want a streamlined case presented, and he was going to find a default judgment against Obama, one, for not showing up, two, Jablonski for not being there. And there was a whole idea here that, number one, with the judge being Iranian, and, of course, the ties that Barack Obama has to the Muslim community, the ties to the Saudi Arabians, the ties to Obama being reluctant to go to war with Iran. We're going to talk about this later on in the show, calls by Israeli leaders, which we're going to talk about later on, to possibly have to do harm to Obama because of his reluctance to do this. And as I understood it, he was at least going to give you a default judgment because the other side didn't show up. And you're telling me now, you're telling me he ruled against you?
Yes. And let me explain something in regards to the default. First of all, he did not say that he will give a default judgment. He said he will give a default. And there is a difference. He actually called all three attorneys. As I said, there were two cases before mine, which were kind of more limited. They only talked about the theory, and then it was my case. So he invited all three attorneys. Actually, there were four of us because the other cases wasn't. There were two attorneys, one and his brother. There were four attorneys. He said, I can give you default. And all four attorneys said we're concerned because we have, the cases here ready to go. We have the plaintiffs, the witnesses, the media, and it is important to put everything on the record because 99.9% of all default judgments are overturned, and people don't understand it. Default judgment, it was just a ploy on part of the Obama regime because they knew that they would be able to overturn the default judgment very easily. and all the attorneys knew that. So, for example, in my case, I flew all the witnesses from all over the country. I flew another attorney who did a mock trial with me. We reviewed the material with the witnesses. I had on my credit card a bill of over $11,000 just on this hearing. And I said, Your Honor, I spent all of this money. I brought the witnesses, the plaintiffs. They're all waiting for their day in court. We need to put everything on the record. Because I knew that, if something happens, it's very important to have all of the evidence, all of the sworn witness testimony on the record. And keep in mind, I've been fighting this fight for nearly 4 years, and the judges were dismissing cases on technicality, on lack of standing, lack of jurisdiction. This is the first time we have an opportunity to put evidence on the record, so it was important to use this opportunity, which we did. And that's what we argued, and we were right. Also, what I argued is that the decision of the judge is just an advisory decision that's going to the Secretary of State. The Secretary of State may or may not agree with this. And when we have everything on the record, the Secretary of State has more of a has more material to review and agree with our side. If we would not have put our case in front of the judge, who knows what would have happened. So we knew that the offer of default was just a ploy, and we put all of our evidence in the record. And hold
on one second. Orly, take a breath. It's 17 minutes past the hour. We're just going to take a minute break. This is Sean David Morton. You're listening to History Being Made on Strange Universe Radio. Don't you dare go away.
Welcome to the world's meeting place. American.
It's practically narcotic.
Freedom.
Oh, yes, I like very much.
Radio.
You're an American institution.
American Freedom Radio.
I think what you're listening to, ladies and gentlemen, is an aria, a mass requiem for this country, actually, to tell you the truth. My guest this evening for the first part of the program is a crusading attorney and hopefully United States Senate candidate for the state of California. I know she's got my vote, Miss Orly Taitz. And once again, I've pointed out on this program over and over and over again that if I was running for office in this country and somebody wanted to know if I was a citizen and I was running for president, it would cost me, $6 for a certified copy, per certified copy, times that by 50, and then whatever it would cost to send priority mail to the secretaries of state of all 50 states, and we'd be pretty much done. But Barack Obama, if my calculations are correct now, has now spent somewhere to the tune of $12 million defending himself from a series of charges that, number one, that his father was not a citizen. Of course, we know that his mother actually gave birth to him in Mombasa, Kenya. The mystery over his dual citizenship, the fact that he became a citizen of Indonesia, we know the fact that he traveled to Pakistan and Afghanistan when there were no-fly zones for U.S. citizens on his Indonesian passport. So what was the final ruling now, Orly? I mean, when the judge came out and said this, because a lot of people have not yet heard what the final ruling is, you presented your case completely unopposed, and I might point out that an unrebutted affidavit stands as truth in fact and proof in law, and you presented a series of not only unrebutted affidavits, but a series of unrebutted witnesses in regards to the fact that it is now theoretically res judicata that we have people on the record in sworn testimony that say that his Social Security number is fake, his 2 birth certificates are fake, that he was born in Kenya, that his father was never a citizen, that he was a dual citizen or at least a citizen of Indonesia, which, by the way, you can't be a dual citizen and be president of the United States either. Gosh, it's no wonder he had so many problems taking the oath as president, which he goofed up under Article 1, Section 2, which means he's also not really the president, but that's a whole other thing. So what did this Mark, hopefully I'm saying his name correctly, Malachi.
Malachi. Yeah.
Malachi, okay.
I don't know, Malachi or Malihi, Mike Malachi. It was absolutely insane. It just shows unprecedented level of corruption and dirt in the judiciary. It's frightening to enter a courtroom today, particularly if you are a civil rights attorney, constitutional attorney. It's just frightening to enter a courtroom because the lawlessness and corruption is just rivaling what I've seen in the communist Soviet Union.
What did he rule? What did he rule in the case? Finally, what was his final ruling?
He said that that he presumes that Obama was born in the United States of America. Based on what? Obama didn't provide one single shred of evidence. Nothing. Based on what? The empty chair told us to judge? But, luckily, as I stated, his decision is just advisory. I have, the moment the decision came down on Friday, I stayed up all night, and on Saturday, first thing, I FedExed and emailed my appeal to the Secretary of State of Georgia, and it was forwarded to the legal counsel for the Secretary of State. They're reviewing it. I just talked to the Secretary, and the Secretary of State is still reviewing it, and he will come up with a decision hopefully tomorrow, and he's going to let the nation know whether he's going to accept this corrupt ruling or whether he is going to come up with his ruling based on evidence and law, in which case, of course, Obama should not be allowed on the ballot.
But, Orly, this is not the first rodeo for you in this. As I understand it, the same kind of thing happened in New Hampshire. The same thing happened with the Ninth Circuit Court, who, by the way, and oddly enough, I was at the Federal Building filing some papers in Los Angeles because I do some paralegal work for unjustly accused and imprisoned prisoners. And I was down at the Federal Building, and it was actually in the Federal Times, this newspaper that goes around to federal employees, about the fact that the Ninth Circuit Court dismissed the case without claiming that they had no jurisdiction. And the Ninth Circuit Court never looked at the birth certificate. They never looked at its legitimacy. They never looked at whether it was real. They never even approached that issue whatsoever. And, of course, you were in that case as well. So now you've come up against, I believe, New Hampshire, Georgia. There was a case in Arizona. I think, is there a case in Alabama as well? The Ninth Circuit Court now also basically just said no jurisdiction. Is it, I mean, over and over and over this happens. I mean, I know you don't know what's going through this judge's mind, but if let's say you had psychic powers for a second, what do you assume happened? Do you think this judge was threatened? Do you think it was the Chicago, because you see the Chicago mob-like activity everywhere you go with Barack Obama. Do you think the judge was? Do you think this judge was threatened somehow?
I don't think he was threatened, but maybe he got some incentive to rule the way he did, or maybe he pressured Obama in order to get something from Obama. God knows. This judge is Iranian Muslim.
Yes.
You know our situation militarily. We have our warships that are being blocked from going through the Straits of Hormuz, with Iranian military going through military drills.
Right.
It's interesting that just recently the United States of America and Israel were supposed to go through a joint military exercise, and suddenly it was canceled by Obama, saying that it might upset the Iranians.
Well, it was canceled actually over the. It was believed that the Iranians went too far because they actually assassinated an Iranian atomic scientist, and even the United States said that was way over the line, basically an act of war by the Israelis against Iran, and
well,
so they canceled.
Wait a second. There is no evidence that it was ever done by Israelis. Based on what? How do you know that? As a matter of fact, I watched a Fox program. And they had actually somebody who was a high-ranking officer or retired from Mossad, and there was a high-ranking officer from CIA. And both of them said that this was not done by foreign intelligence, that operation like this would not be done by foreign intelligence, that it was done by the internal opposition, by Iranians.
Well, I'll pull out the story here and read it a little later about what was going on with that. But it's what is your what is your next step here? It seems as though, I mean, is this the end of the road? Are there other lawsuits out there? I mean, I was certainly hoping that there was going to be some ruling in the case, and now you're saying that the judge just came out and said, none of your witness, I believe that Barack Obama was born in Hawaii. I believe his birth certificate's real. I believe that your witnesses did not present, even though there was no opposing evidence whatsoever. I think all your witnesses. This is what the judge is saying. I think all your witnesses are lying. I think all the testimony before me is fake. It doesn't reach the level of evidence, and with no proof whatsoever before me, I am simply going to say that I am satisfied that Barack Obama is born in the United States. Is that about right?
Pretty much, yeah.
So what do you do now? Where do you go from here? Where do you take this fight? Why is the Supreme Court looking at this? I know that's an obvious answer, but Clarence Thomas wants this case.
Let me explain. First of all, I'm waiting to see what the Secretary of State of Georgia is going to do, because the Secretary of State is a Republican, from what I understand, a conservative, and if he wasn't bought, we were in good shape. Considering the facts of the case and the law in the state of Georgia, he needs to decide in our favor. So tomorrow, day after tomorrow, we will have an answer. If for any reason it's going to be different and he will not decide in our favor, I will be filing probably in the Superior Court of Fulton County an appeal, and going further, if they do not decide in our favor, it's going to be I'll be going to the Supreme Court of Georgia, Supreme Court of the United States, and I will be working that angle. Also, I'm filing a complaint seeking criminal investigation, and I'm asking all of the listeners, I don't know how many listeners you have on your show, but
millions all over the world.
I'm asking them to help me by basically flooding the phone lines of the Secretary of State of Georgia. It's all, you can go on my website, orlytaitz.com. I posted the phone number, the fax number. You need to call the Secretary of State of Georgia. You need to call and fax the Attorney General of Georgia and demand criminal investigation for public corruption of this judge, and criminal investigation of Obama for uttering forged documents, Social Security fraud, elections fraud, wire fraud, obstruction of justice. And you can also
it goes on and on and on. It's absolutely it's amazing. It's just stupendous.
And for example, today I was able to talk to Charlie White, who was the Secretary of State of Indiana. And as you know, there was an issue where he moved. He and his wife got divorced, and he got remarried. He was in transition. Actually, he didn't get remarried yet, but he was in transition, moving from the house where he lived with his ex-wife to the condo, and he did not change his voter registration card. So the address on his voter registration card was wrong. And, it's a minor thing. And a judge in Marion County, Indiana, went after him and came up. It was Judge Louis Rosenberg, came with a decision he needs to be thrown from his position of Secretary of State. And they filed criminal charges. And this Saturday at 2 o'clock at night, the jury came up with a decision where he was convicted of 6 felonies for something minor. So I talked to him and I said, look what was done to you, and look at what is happening to Obama. I forwarded a complaint to his past Secretary of State and also to the new temporary Secretary of State of Indiana, and with a demand that this goes to the Elections Board. So it's going to be reviewed in Indiana. I just submitted a complaint in Louisiana. And as a matter of fact, there's already a letter from the Chief of Elections Division saying that there are so many criminal complaints in regards to Obama that the Secretary of State of Louisiana decided to forward it to the Attorney General to see if Obama can be on the ballot in light of all of those complaints. complaints and whether criminal charges should be filed against Obama in the state of Louisiana. So I'm very methodical. I've filed a complaint in the state of Mississippi. Right now I have Georgia, Indiana, Louisiana, Mississippi, and these 4 states I've been doing complaints just recently. I'm still working in Hawaii in the D.C. court. One thing I have to say that it all cost me thousands and thousands of dollars, and I do need people to donate because without those donations, I really cannot go on. As I said, my website, orlytaitz.com.
It's Orly Taitz, E as in Edward, S-Q?
Like Esquire.
Oh, Esquire. Okay, orlytaitz.esquire.com. Got it, okay.
But you don't write the full word Esquire, just write ESQ.
ESQ, and Taitz is O-R-L-Y, just so everybody knows, T-A-I-T-Z, yes?
Yes.
ESQ.com. That's Orly Taitz ESQ. Because I was thinking, Orly, that my goodness, the time and effort and the the amount of money that you must have spent out of your own pocket. And this has been going on for almost 4 years between you and Leonard D'Onofrio. Back in I remember this case. Leonard D'Onofrio starting his case not only against Obama but against John McCain as well, because John McCain was born in Panama.
But the difference between me and Leo is that Leo filed one case nearly 4 years ago, was dismissed, and that was it. I filed probably 50 cases all over the nation. I traveled all over the nation. I've been promoting this issue. Just recently, I was contacted by a group where they invited me to give lectures in New York, Boston, Chicago, promoting this issue. So I've been really working this issue 24/7, 365, and really donations would help. Another thing that I wanted to tell you, that there were all kinds of groups that are claiming that they're helping. For example, there is a woman who is a lifelong Democrat. She's in her 60s, I'm guessing. Her name is Helen Tenzi, and suddenly she came up with this group called Article 2 Super PAC. They claim that they collect money for legal challenges. I'm the attorney who's done 99% of the work. Not only this, Helen Tenzi and her little group did not give me 1 cent, but a number of people who are on the board of this group actually went ahead and attacked me and defamed me and were spreading emails defaming me, including Helen Tenzi, by the way. So either those people are just freeloaders or those people are working for the other side. But, those groups really have been hurting me. So if people want to help and want to donate, please don't go to any of those groups. Article 2 Super PAC did not help me, just defamed me. If you believe in what I'm doing and you want to help in this effort to remove Obama, just go direct on my website. And
do you want to? Do you have time for one more segment? Do you have to go, Orly?
We'll make.
From sea to sea, from planet to planet, and star to shining star, from out of the night and into the light, from the pyramids of Giza to the pyramids on Mars, from the dark side of the street to the dark side of the moon. Strange universe, the glass plus for the windows of your soul, the very pinnacle of 16.4 billion years of evolution. From the man who has transcended his ego more than anyone on earth, and if you say different, I'll punch you in the throat. So please fasten the safety belts on your souls, put your tray tables up into your frontal lobes, and keep your arms and legs inside the radio at all times. Ding! You are now free to move about this strange universe. It is I, Sean David Morton. Now my guest is the amazing, the indefatigable, a lady that I've been a big fan of for a long time, Orly Taitz. Once again, to spell out her website, Orly, O-R-L-Y, Taitz, T-A-I-T-Z as in zebra, and then ESQ, which is short for Esquire, which is, of course, a title given to you by the Queen of England from the Private Bar Association, which in and of itself is kind of unconstitutional, but we'll just let that slide. OrlyTaitz.Esquire.com. She needs donations for her continued fight against the corruption here. And again, the ruling in this case for me was just stunning, Orly. And It's just unbelievable. It just goes once again to show that the media is completely controlled, the courts are completely controlled, judges are completely and utterly controlled. I mean, how do you stand it? How do you manage to sleep at night? You have personally witnessed probably more corruption in your fight over this. I mean, have you been threatened? Has there anyone that has? I mean, have you been afraid for your life at any point?
Absolutely. Not only I was threatened on my website through emails, phone calls, but there was tampering with my car, where a fumes emissions hose was disconnected and hot combustible.
Someone tampered with your car?
Yes, and I reported this to FBI several times, and nothing was done by the FBI. They're part of the same corrupt regime. People believe that FBI is there to help. I don't believe that.
I've noticed that the FBI, the CIA, the KGB, the GRU are just, they're all different legs on the same bug, Orly.
Yeah. Yes.
And again, you're standing up to this. I know some people get death threats and they cry about it, but Orly Taitz, she's got eggs, baby. She's out there beating them down. Now, I understand you're going to, are you truly going to run for Senate in California at some point?
Yes, actually, yes. I was today at the registrar, and yes, I am running. I'm an unannounced candidate. I'm registered with FEC. I will be on the ballot. And in California, we have something new, which is called open primary, whereby all of the candidates, Republicans, Democrats, everybody is on the same ballot in the primary, and the top two are going to the general election. There can be two Democrats, two Republicans, and so forth. So far, I'm the best-known Republican candidate. Well, of course, with our re-elections, anything is possible, but I am the best-known Republican candidate. Public Policy Polling, which is one of the largest polling companies, Orly called Dianne Feinstein against myself. And keep in mind, California is one of the bluest states in the nation. Just last election, Meg Whitman, who is a multi-billionaire, ran, and so did Carly Fiorina, who is a multi-millionaire, and they lost about 14% to Democrats. Whitman ran for governor, Fiorina ran for Senate.
She was my next door neighbor, actually, growing up, Meg Whitman. As a matter of fact, I lived in Atherton, up in Northern California, and the guy who was the CEO of Google lived. Eric Schmitz lived right down one side, and then Meg Whitman lived over the other side. I went to school with her kids, and again, that election was hers to lose, and it was unbelievable to me that she got beaten by the crypt keeper Jerry Brown, who was the one responsible for screwing up our state in the first place back in the 70s. But let me ask. Go ahead.
Which led me to one very important point. In the state of California and many other states, elections are totally rigged. We have here electronic voting machines, electronic ballot counting scanners, and I have presented the courts with evidence showing that those are being rigged, easily rigged, and the judges just ignore it.
Oh, I did a story where an 8th grade class of kids was able to rig these things. Now, again, is this in California? Because I thought that California had banned a lot of those voting machines and gone to the paper ballots. That's not true, you're saying?
No. Not true. We still have electronic voting machines. Not only that, the biggest problem is in ballot counting scanners, electronic ballot counting scanners. Those can be programmed any way you want. And what I found out that actually vast majority of counties all over the nation are using a program called Sequoia. In 2005, Sequoia was purchased by a front shell company for the government of Venezuela. We're talking the communist dictator Hugo Chavez was able to purchase a program running our election software and hardware in most counties. In 2007, a congresswoman from New York, Caroline Maloney, raised concerns, and officially Sequoia was sold to a U.S. citizen. However, as I did some digging, I found out that this U.S. citizen was an insider for the same company called Smartmatic, who owns Sequoia. Not only that, the intellectual software is still in the hands of one Antonio Mujica, who is the president of Smartmatic. But not only Smartmatic, but also another company called Vista, which is a Venezuelan company that was responsible for keeping Chavez in power through very questionable tallying of votes. So the nation was taken over, and people need to rise and make a difference. And I think one of the most vivid examples that even one person can make a difference. And during those nearly 4 years, I was able to bring forward more and more damning evidence. Now it's in court record. And sooner and later, Watergate 2 will break. Obama forgery gate is much bigger than Watergate 1. More people, I believe, will end up going to prison. So people just need to keep the pressure. One of the things they need to do is demand from each and every Secretary of State to decertify electronic ballot counting scanners and decertified electronic voting machines. We need people using their IDs when they're voting. We have a lot of fraud with that, where I believe millions of voter registration cards all over the nation are not valid. This needs to be addressed. But people,
well, this is rigging elections is nothing new for CIA, NSA. I mean, I've been saying this from the beginning that we spend millions, if not billions, of dollars rigging elections in banana republics in third world countries, and people somehow seem to think that they don't do the same thing here. People somehow seem to think that Diebold and the electronic voting machines aren't rigged. People somehow seem to think that, and again, the security for these apparently is there's a key that's used that is literally the same key that unlocks a hotel minibar. And I'm not even kidding. I read a whole article on this about, you get a hotel minibar key and basically skew an entire election, and people just don't get it. All right, let me play a quick hypothetical game with you, Orly, and let me ask you one other question too. Apparently, again, Barack Obama and Clarence Thomas, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, hate each other's guts. Barack Obama was asked which Supreme Court justice would you get rid of, and Obama, without blinking, without thinking, says Clarence Thomas. Thomas is the one that has been trying to get your case in front of the Supreme Court, and he has been blocked by Souder over and over and over.
No.
Have you had any contact with Thomas? Because I heard he tried to get this up 4 times, and Souder blocked him. Is this
absolutely not true? No, I had the case in front of him. As a matter of fact, I had a case that came from Georgia a couple of years ago, and I filed a stay. It went to Thomas. And let me explain something else that people don't understand about our high courts and the Supreme Court, Courts of Appeals. We have the whole fifth column. We have a modern Praetorian Guard that consists of attorney law clerks for high-ranking federal judges, that consist of aides to congressmen. And 99.9% of the cases that get to the Supreme Court are never seen by the justices. Case in point, when I filed my petition for stay with Clarence Thomas, and keep in mind, petitions for stay go to one judge. It went directly to Thomas. He had an opportunity to do something about it, and nothing was done. And I was told, actually I got information that supposedly that petition was dismissed on a Saturday. I had evidence that Thomas was nowhere near Washington on that Saturday. He was actually in Utah giving a lecture. I filed a complaint with the chief clerk of the Supreme Court of the United States, with the security agent, security officer of the Supreme Court.
Well, Orly, we can talk about this. I thank you so much for spending an hour with me. We're kind of out of time. Again, ladies and gentlemen, www.orlytaitsesquire.com. She needs donations. She is, all I can say is thank you so much. I'm a gigantic fan. May mighty angels protect you and bless you, Orly. Thank you so much for all you're doing for all of us in America. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thanks, bye.
And I'll talk to you soon. Thank you. This is Sean David Morton on Strange Universe. Give us a call, 218-339-8525, and we'll be back in a few beats of your heart.
No rules. No rules. No taboo topics. No taboo topics. No fear of doom. No fear of doom. We are American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.